And a good morning. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday morning, and very, very happy to have with us as well the candidate, as far as I'm concerned, for governor, our Sheriff Joe Lombardo. He's on their Vegas City KXNT live line. Sheriff, thanks so much for being with us this morning. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Alan. My pleasure. And thanks for having me.
That's my pleasure, believe me. So quickly, I'm just going to go down some of the things. I saw some of the ads that the Democrat governors put out. By the way, if anyone doesn't know, what's happening is that Democratic governors are trying to sway Republicans in the primary. Instead of dealing with their own stuff, they're trying to tell Republicans how we should be voting. These people are whacked out. But they say a few things about you. They're not attacking anyone else, just you, which makes you wonder. I mean, they understand you are the one who has the best chance of beating Steve Sisolak. And they say in 2016 you abandoned the anti-gang unit. As a result, marked increases in rapes, robberies, assaults, and homicides. They say in 2020 you cut 112 police department positions. A number of police fell below the national recommended standard. And homicides are up 40% in 2022. So I'd like to take these and let you go through each one because I really want you to focus on it. They say you never got rid of, I want to talk about this gang unit. First of all, I know you say you never got rid of it. Tell us how that happened.
So you want to talk about before we get into that, Al, I do want to repeat what you just said about them attacking me specifically, and it is on the back end of the Democratic Governors Association. So your listeners or the voters are probably, well, what is their plan there? Well, the plan is to go after me because I am the front runner. The polls are saying I'm the front runner, and I am well positioned to beat Sisolak in November, and that is their plan. And it's been used before under Harry Reid, and apparently they continue to do it today in this election cycle. So, but specifically for what you described, let's go through the points. You said you had mentioned about the gang unit being.
The first thing they say is it's 2016, you disabandoned the anti-gang unit, and that resulted in marked increases in rapes, robberies, assaults, and homicides.
Right, which is absolutely false. It's amazing how you can manipulate the narrative. And everybody is aware of that, how the narrative gets manipulated, and then you have to spend money and time refuting what they're saying. So, no, I never got rid of the gang unit. So what happened when I took office, first elected sheriff, I did a decentralization program across the entire police department. In other words, I pushed the centralized detectives, which included the gang unit detectives, out into the specific area commands and divvied up the responsibility associated with that. I never got rid of the gang unit. We broke it up into the area commands so they could be specific to a smaller portion of geography and attack gangs from that perspective. So that's misleading and absolutely false.
So, in other words, the detectives would be assigned to various substations and be closer to the actual problems where they were occurring.
Right, and the proof is in the pudding in that design and that idea, because prior to decentralization of the detective function, we had probably less than 7% solvability of our total crime year over year. And with decentralization, I'm proud to say we're in the 30th percentile of solvability. So, as you can tell, they're trying to paint a false picture associated with those movements.
So, by doing what you did with the decentralization, it actually enhanced the policing of these problems instead of taking away from it. It actually added to the successes that you were having. And also in 2017, you reconstituted the gang unit. Now, what was that about? First, you decentralized it, then you reconstituted it. What does that mean, and why did you go through those changes?
It was the intelligence function of the gang unit we reconstituted. So all the research and analysis associated with gangs that goes along with investigations, we decentralized, and we found out that we couldn't manage that appropriately in all the other substations, so we re-centralized that particular function, the intelligence and investigative function, because that goes across the area commands. It's not restricted by geography, so it was better to manage under the other aspects of the police departments and their intelligence function.
So there was one aspect, in other words, of the gang unit that was re-centralized instead. One aspect of it, the intelligence area, not the whole thing. Again, I want
right, and that requires a bigger picture. So what are they trying to accomplish? That I have poor leadership? No, it's true leadership. You sit there and you ask yourself, okay, we're going to try something different to be more effective and efficient. You evaluate it on its face value. You give it a little bit of time to see if you have unintended consequences, and then you determine whether you got to go in another direction. And that's what we did with the intelligence function. We said, hey, okay, it's not working out how we had designed, in particular to that one modicum portion of the entire police department. And subsequently, we adjusted, and that's leadership. Realizing that you might have made a decision that wasn't a benefit to the overall organization or the functionality, and you change course. And that's what's important for people to realize. It isn't poor leadership, it's great leadership.
All right, I want you to stay with me. We're going to take a break early here, Trent, because I want to come on back, and I do want to talk about the accusation you cut 112 police department positions, and that meant we fell below the national recommended standard, and as a result, homicides are up in 2022. So, I mean, I know what the reality is, but I want you to be able to talk about that in a minute. I want to give you a little more time, so we'll take a break early, come on back, and continue with Joe Lombardo. He is our sheriff and also candidate for governor for the great state of Nevada, and we'll continue after we check in with traffic and weather together. Yes, Anna, good morning. He is running for governor of the great state of Nevada, and he is our sheriff, Joe Lombardo, joining us right now on the Vegas Today KXNT Live Line. And, Sheriff, thank you so much for being with us. One of the other claims against you in this ad by the Democrat governors who are trying to manipulate the Republican primary instead of worrying about their own says that you cut 112 police department positions. We fell below the national recommended standard. As a result, homicides are up 40% in 2022. And would you like to respond, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Alan. I appreciate you asking the questions and giving me the opportunity to talk about it. So 112, I mean, you got to read the details of it, because words matter. It says cut 112 police department positions. It doesn't say police officer. It says positions. So for people that may not remember, we were in the throes of COVID. We were in throes of budget restraints and cuts, and every entity across the state was asked to make cutbacks as a result of the closures of businesses and the lack of budget revenue. So we let go 112 part-time and civilian positions. No police officers, 0 police officers lost their job as a result of the COVID, and everybody knows we were considered essential because we had to come to work and handle calls every day. We didn't have the ability, like the state, and what the governor allowed the state to do is to work from home. And, and part of that is as a result of his policies. So, no, we got rid of 112 police department positions, and as a result of the reopening of the economy, the majority of all of those positions, every one of them has been brought back on board. So that's a false narrative that is being preached and is being painted, and so they say it's directly related to the increase in homicides. Yeah, you know what's directly related to the increase in homicides is the failed economy, the failed response to COVID, and the socialist soft on crime attitude that was presented in the last 2 legislative sessions across the board. If you look across the United States, there was a significant increase in homicides. But to paint a better picture for you, as a result of our efforts and our hard work outside of homicides, we had a 13% decrease in violent crime in totality. So it's all a false narrative, and I'm glad you're asking the question.
I know that the murder rate for 2022 is actually down compared to 2021. and
Correct.
so we are lower than the national average. I know you guys are solving.
And if you look at the national average, you're right. We're lower than the national average, and even closer to home, they just reported a 40-year high in homicides in L.A. So it's people need to open their eyes to the real facts and not listen to the narrative that the DGA is presenting.
And I know that the Metro is a solving rate of like over 90%, one of the highest in the nation. I salute you for that. Something else I do want to mention that I want to salute you for, and I've said this before, but I've got to mention this because this is so significant. You keep talking about the COVID and the shutdown and all that. What happened at the same time that a lot of people are not remembering is that there were a lot of riots nationally going on. From Minneapolis to New York to Chicago to L.A., San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. To name all the cities. Across the country. Downtown and businesses were burning. People were being raped and killed. Literally, police being attacked. And this was going on a regular basis. Attempts to burn federal buildings, buildings, and all this was happening. And I remember when they figured they're going to do the same thing here in Las Vegas. They're going to go down the Strip and they're going to tackle what's going on. They're going to put a lot of graffiti up. They're going to go onto the freeway. That was one of the intentions. Stop traffic on the 15 and show the world that we're going to be bosses here in Las Vegas. And you and Kevin McMahill and the rest of the entire Metro said, you know what, that ain't going to happen. And the way you guys did it, we got to watch this live while it was happening. One of the TV stations had a helicopter camera on the entire time. I saw it the whole time for myself. In fact, I still have it on tape. And you know what? You guys did an incredible job of keeping this community safe and not becoming a Minneapolis or an L.A. or San Francisco or any of the other places. And we could not afford to have us be seen as an unsafe place when we're trying to attract people here to relax and feel safe.
Right. Yeah, that was a great description there, Alan, and you're exactly right. But let's not just encapsulate it as during that time. That's continuing today. You're still seeing riots associated with different social issues and demonstrations, which is appreciated via the First Amendment. But when they step outside of the lines and create a safety hazard, that's when you have to act. And the luxury of us here in Clark County is we have an elected sheriff that has autonomy to determine how is best appropriate, the best way to police insurrection or unrest or people operating outside the First Amendment or outside the lines. And it was my decision. It wasn't going to be tolerated, and it was important for you and everybody else in this community to get to work safely and do go about their business just like everybody else under the protection of the Constitution, and it wasn't going to be tolerated.
And that was, by the way, I just want to mention for anyone who's listening from the other side going, they bought. Now, let me tell you something. I remember the first thing you said was, we are out here to protect the rights of the people who want to demonstrate and express their First Amendment rights. You said that. That was the first thing you said before you said anything else. And then you gave a press conference that had video of things that happened, that they were making claims against Metro, and you were up there with about a half a dozen videos actually showing what did happen, which I saw at the time, again, live on the tube. But you did an incredible job. I mean that, honest to God, from the bottom of my heart, of leading Metro and keeping us safe as a community. So I personally, on behalf of my family, I thank you very, very much for what you did, and appreciate the fact that you're running for governor. I encourage everyone to join your campaign and vote for you for June 14th. I think you'll make a great governor, and it's time that we had one here in the state of Nevada. Sheriff Joe Lombardo, thank you, my friend, for joining us. I appreciate it. We'll talk again very soon.
All right, Alan. You take care. Have a great day.
You too. Take good care. Sheriff Joe Lombardo joining us right here on KXNT. My final thoughts coming up next.